Good evening. Tonight I'm going to start out reading some of a new piece. Well, actually, I wrote it earlier this summer, but I've only shared it with a few people. So I thought I'd share it on here. It's some reflections on how us as Christians should approach things with both joy and tears, and how Jesus did the same in his ministries. A couple of reflections on life and people. It's called Enjoying Tears. Thank you, and God bless. Enjoying Tears, some thoughts on a Christian attitude. And when he had come nigh, even now, at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the great multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works they had seen, saying, Blessed be the King that cometh in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. And then he was come near, he beheld the city, and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. Luke 19:37 to 42, King James Version. The Christian life is to be full of overflowing abundant joy. Someone has said that joy is the flag that flies from the heart when the king is in residence there. A Christian is to have joy unspeakable, as we read in the first book of Peter. That the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto peace and honor and glory at the appearance of Jesus Christ, whom having not seen ye loved, in whom thou now ye see him not, yet believing ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. 1 Peter 1 7 to 9, King James Version. Behind our tears, beneath our struggles, joy abides. I recently went to a close family friend's funeral and was asked to read some poetry selections at the service. Being an emotional man, I struggled not to cry, but with the Lord's help and guidance, I made it through the time with only a few tears. Brothers and sisters, remember, along with joy, the Christian life is also a life of weeping and mourning. The book of Ecclesiastes tells us, To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. That's Ecclesiastes 3 1 through 4 in the King James Version. We also know that Jesus himself wept 3 times. So the Bible tells us he wept at the grave of Lazarus, as we see in the book of John. Then, when Mary was come where Jesus was, and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping which came with her, he groaned in the spirit, and was troubled, and said, Where have ye laid him? They said unto him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. Then said the Jews, Behold how he loved him. John 11:32 to 36, King James Version. In just in Gethsemane, before his betrayal, as we see in the book of Hebrews, Jesus also wept. So also Christ glorified not himself to be made a high priest, but he said unto him, Thou art my son, today have I begotten thee. As he said also in another place, Thou art a priest, for even after the order of Melchizedek, who, in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplication with strong crying and tears unto him, that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all that obeyed him. Hebrews 5 5 through 9, King James Version. Jesus also shed tears over the future of Jerusalem, as we see in the book of Luke. And when he came near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even now, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hidden from thine eyes. Luke 19:41-42, King James Version. What was it that broke Jesus' heart as he looked over the city? What was it that moved him to such compassion as he wept, that he wept? He cried over sin. Three truths caused Jesus to weep over the city of Jerusalem. Let's look at these truths and ask ourselves, do these truths disturb me? If I'm a true follower of Christ, it seems that what broke his heart ought to break mine. As we examine these truths, we need to consider if we bear a likeness to Jesus. We need to ask, do we feel as he felt? This is part of it, religion without reality. Jesus wept because of the superficial religion of his people. On the day of these events, the people were rejoicing and casting palm branches before him. What a day of joy and pageantry! But in the midst of it all, Jesus wept. Jesus saw the superficiality of their religion. He beheld a crowd that had a religion but was empty of reality. They had celebration, pomp, and ritual. They did not have God. They had form but not force. He knew the crowd which now cried, Hail him, would in a few days be crying, Nail him, nail him. The Pharisees and the Sadducees of Jesus' day, the most religious people there, had never really submitted to him, as we know from the book of Matthew. Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doth the will of my Father, which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful things? Then I will profess to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. That's Matthew 7:21-23 in King James Version. They preach praying, power, and performance, but they did not have Jesus. When Jesus looked at their religion that was without reality and force, it broke his heart. And I'm going to stop this here and do some more of it at another time. Thank you very much for paying attention. And as always, let me know if you enjoy it or not, and I will continue. So thank you very much, and God bless, and have a great evening.